Derbs, another midweek loss for you. Good morning. How are you? Uh, midweek
I'm
loss for
good.
LSU last night, 12-1. They fall versus Louisiana Tech. A lot of people just talking about the effort and the body language. When you watch LSU play right now, what do you see?
No, playing as long as I did and being in those situations, I'm not going to go Dickie V and say all the things I did, but I can
Come on, Dick.
remember. Yeah, oh yeah, no, come on, Dick. I can remember those moments when I could see it, whether I was a starting pitcher early or whether I was a reliever late, and even as a veteran pitcher late. When you saw the lack of effort, that was the most frustrating. And you kind of walked in from the bullpen, across the outfield grass, knowing, okay, what's he going to say? Manager's going to come unglued right here. What's he going to say, and who's he going to call out? Because he's sitting there the whole game stewing, or even the whole week stewing, about who I need to get fired up, who needs to sit a game, who needs to be pulled off the field in the middle of an inning. Well, I mean, and sometimes that's extreme, but when it's the effort, you can control effort as a player. Anybody can. I mean, in a wheelchair, you can hustle down to first base. For me, it does come down to that sometimes at any level. And, I think a lot of it has to do with, usually midweek game, it would be, in this season, if everybody's healthy, it would be Eric Walker and Mikael Hilliard and all these guys, Marceau,
Yeah.
fighting to pitch that game on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what's not able to happen as the natural flow of things. You're not having the true starting pitchers fighting to get into the weekend, fighting on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday during the week to try to get into those weekend rotations. So, it does. It trickles down. You're looking at each other and saying, hey, who are our best competitors? I don't care what their ERAs are. Who are our best competitors? Those are the guys we need to go out there on the weekend with. Let's see who can step up on these auditions during the week. And yes, as a fan and as anybody watching, it sucks to see him lose like that, but you're trying to see who will step up, who will have a clean inning. I mean, Rypole had a clean inning. He might have been the only one out there, I think. But you needed to see who might step up, who might throw a clean inning, or who might give up a double on a gap and only give up one run.
Jaden Hill hadn't thrown since week 2. Cole Henry's going to miss his 3rd straight week. People are debating whether Nick Storrs exists. There's talk on whether they may come back for the SEC tournament. Guys that have missed that amount of time. What's a fair expectation for a pitcher who's been on the shelf?
Well, I mean, you're out there ready to prove yourself. I mean, you're fighting for, a number of things. Number one, for your team, for the guys standing next to you, the guys that you go run with, lift with, go to school with, grind with. So all that stuff is one thing. And then you're fighting for positioning going into next year or a draft status to show people you're healthy. I mean, there's so many things that go into this because these guys are all extremely talented. We all know that they didn't come to LSU because they stunk. They're better than the players at La Tech for the most part. They're better than the players at Southeastern and all this. So if they want to step up, believe me, all of those kids, they may be down for a minute. You see the bad body language and all that. And remember, they're 19 and 20 years old for the most part. They want to be successful. They want the fans cheer, and the players seek approval from coaches, from fans, from their parents. So when they don't get it, and they're used to being the best players on the field on any level they've ever played, this is a learning curve. They're not used to going 30 and 19 at LSU. They expect to go out and win. So, I know as a coach, sometimes you want to go the opposite of the way the team's feeling, get all fired up, be down when they're up. I mean, whatever it is to keep them equal. But, it's an arms race. It's always an arms race, and we just don't have the healthy arms. We have the arms. We just don't have the healthy arms to go out and compete consistently, and we are. I mean, the team's 30-19, like we said. They're doing well in the SEC. They're in a position where if they make a hard run, they're going to help themselves out. But when it does come down to just your arsenal and what you can throw at people, you need some guys to do what Fears did out in Oakland and just have a day. Go out there and have a day. And what happens when that guy goes out and throws 7 shutty? 2 guys go out and shut down a game on Friday. The next guy steps up and he just holds the rope. And then all of a sudden you've won a weekend or you've swept a weekend. And it's because they weren't worried about the total result. They were just worried about, I'm just going to do my job, Belichick style. I'm just hashtag do your job, do your job, do your job. And all of a sudden, this results-based world that these kids live in, you go to the process orientation, and the process works better than you can't control the results. So that's what happens inside of these types of slides that people go on, especially with really talented players. It's just one guy gets it going.
Yeah, and I've been using that Fears example all morning because he entered the game last night with a 6.81 ERA. That is the highest ERA ever to throw a no-hitter. So, like, how does that happen? How do you suddenly just lock in for a night?
I mean, just like these guys at LSU, he's a big league pitcher. He's very good. He's done this before. It's harder early in the year. Those ERAs are kind of all over the place, but because you can have a bad inning or two, and until July, water doesn't really find its level. So because I was a career 5 ERA guy, but there were times where I went out and shut down the 2000 Yankees. So you just kind of have to, if you're on for a night at that level, you're that good. You got there, you fought off all these talented kids to keep your spot. He's more than talented enough, and this is what I thought about when I was listening earlier. I was like, you know what? With those guys that are all equally talented, the separator is the mentality, the sports psychology, the extended focus, the ability to focus longer than the next guy. And I think that's what happens at an LSU with these talented kids. The bad body language, all that stuff, it's just a lack of extended focus. And sometimes you have to look like that on the field to get called out for it, to extend your focus a little bit longer. The ability to focus longer is the key to all this, and that's what I want to see out of good high school players, out of good LSU or SEC caliber guys. And on the pro level, if you can't do that, somebody else is going to do it.
Chad, we're talking to World Series champion Chad Durbin. There's an ongoing debate going on right now about these injuries, right? Is it an excuse? Is it an explanation? As someone who knows baseball inside out, like, how do you interpret what these injuries have meant to this team?
It's momentum. You take away a ton of momentum when you're going to have Cole Henry go on Friday, and you just go you just hold the line. It's easy when it's consistent. And this is when the teams are the best, and you can think back to 90s LSU, 2000 LSU, or the Yankees. If you tuned in, it was the same lineup. You knew who was going to be pitching on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You knew who was going to be hitting 3-hole, 4-hole, 5-hole. And that just hasn't been the case this year because of the lack of whether it's health or consistency or whatever it is. That's what I look for in teams that are just going to go on hard runs is you don't even, as a coach, I'm going to write these 9 in, and we're going to go out and we're going to skull drag somebody. And that momentum plays in. Whereas I think right now there's a little bit of wonder of how we're going to execute. Who's going to step up today? And that doesn't happen when you're going really good. You just know somebody's going to step up. If you strike out, the guy walking up next to you is going to pick you up. And if you leave the bases loaded with 1 out, somebody's going to come in there, punch out, pop up, or get a double play. And that's where momentum comes from. You come out the next inning, put up a 3 spot, and all of a sudden you've won 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row.
Another Wednesday with Durbin dropping knowledge on us, man. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Durbin
Chad,
every week here on Off the Bench. We'll close out hour number 1 next.